Hey team, good morning. Hope you're all doing well. I wanted to go over this topic of decoding the 5-minute mile and is it mental? This is not a very easy time to run, as you all know. So many runners around the world are trying to run 4 consecutive laps of the track in 74 seconds each. And is it mental? I certainly think there's a huge aspect of this particular time barrier that is mental. Because a lot of times you can train far too hard in training, and you can leave a lot of your race in training, and when you get to the race, you're fatigued and you're also mentally tired from all the hard work that you've been putting in. I stress this all of the time. It's very important that you keep in mind training smart rather than hard. Okay, we've all been taught to learn and to study and to work hard. And that the greatest results will come from working hard. I'm much more impressed by athletes that study working smarter, seeking out leverage. What can I do to work 50% less and get the results that I'm working for, rather than just working hard? Because a lot of runners out there, and I certainly succumb to this fact as well, that are training hard and still not getting the results that they're wanting. Okay, a lot of us, we run too much mileage, too slow, and we're just hyped up on, well, I'm running 80 miles a week, or I'm running 100 miles a week, and kind of getting excited about that. Yeah, there's certainly something to be said about consistent work over a long period of time, but if the consistent work you're putting in is not getting you to your end result, there's some strategies, there's some leaks in your training, there's some strategies that you need to start implementing in order to get under, in this case, the sub 5-minute mile barrier. A lot of times it's pacing. You can go out. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes I made as a high school athlete is I was running the first 400 meters of my 1600 far too fast. I mean, I'm still kicking myself over it decades later now. Like, if I just would have calmed down in the first 400 meters, I would have run much faster in the 1600 by the time I graduated from high school. And again, it's just mistakes we all make. But if you're trying to break 5 minutes for the mile, do not go out the first 400 meters of your 1600. Okay, the mile is 1609 meters. Okay, but give or take 1600 meters is close enough. But if you're running the 1600 meter in high school and you're trying to run 4:59, you do not need to be going out in 66 the first 400 meters. Go out much more conservative. Go out in around like 78 to 79 seconds. And then aim. The third lap is the key here. Okay, it is mental in the way that a lot of times runners wait until the last 400 meters of the mile to really make a move. Okay, my advice, and again, it's going to vary from athlete to athlete. Some athletes wait like 300 meters out to make a really hard kick. I would really focus on the last 600 meters. Do not really start to go all out in the 1600 to try to break 5 minutes until you're 600 meters out, because a lot of runners are not going to wait. They're not going to wait until 600 meters out to make their move. Most of them will wait until the last lap. The third lap is the lap in order to break 5 minutes that you really need to focus on, because most runners get the weakest in the third lap of that race. Okay? And again, be aware of where you're going in terms of the pacing, how fast you're going out. Okay? If you're at like 223 through 800 meters and your PR for the mile is, say, like 5:15, you better have done your homework properly in order to maintain that pace in the second 800 meters. It's like running a half marathon versus a marathon. Yes, if you can go out and you can run an hour and 30 minutes for a half marathon, that is awesome. But to break 3 hours for a marathon, you have to double that. Okay, so it's one thing to be halfway through your race at goal race pace, but it's another thing to do it back to back twice. Okay, so in the 1600 meters, your aim is to break that 5-minute mile barrier. So maybe go out around 234, 233, 234, a few seconds slower than goal race pace, and then come back with a negative split. Okay, you really don't want to. You can do that. A negative split can really work in these longer races, like a 10-mile race, half marathon, or marathon, you can go out much more conservative in the first half of those particular races because they're so long. But the 800 meters, the 1600 meters, the full mile, 1609 meters, you have to be aware of your pacing. And this is where the mental aspect comes in. You have to be not lose control and not lose hope when you see runners taking off too fast in the 1600 meter event. Okay, and for high school athletes that are watching this, if you're running the mile and you're running in collegiate athletics, the 1500 meter or the mile, to especially breaking the 5-minute mile barrier, just be a little bit more conservative in the first half. Don't go so aggressive that you blow up in the last 600 meters to the last 400 meters of your race. Also, to break the 5-minute mile barrier, remember, this might take you several years. I mean, for me personally, it took me a little over 2 years to break the mile barrier, the 5-minute mile barrier as a high school athlete. As a high school athlete, I started off running the 1600 in 5:30, got it down to 5:09 by the end of my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, I lowered it down from 5:09 to 4:38. Okay, so again, the reason why I was able to do that was I was putting in the work in the summers. You can't stop, okay? If you're really trained to run 4:59, you have to know this is like an elite type time. It is for most runners around the world. It's very hard to be able to put 4 of those consecutive 400-meter reps together under 75 seconds. I mean, if you go out there and you try to do that one time, you know you have to be in great shape just to run one quarter in 74 seconds. But doing it 4 times in a row, you have to increase your body's lactate tolerance. You have to do that. So you have to spend some time, and this is where the mental aspect comes into play. You have to be consistent with your training. You have to be patient enough, knowing that this is not a slow time. It's not like you're going out trying to run 6-minute mile, which is still quality running. But to break 5 minutes, you have to watch your pacing. You have to make sure that you're spending some time each week running down toward 4:30 mile pace. Okay, you can go out and you can do some 200s, some repeat 400s, some repeat 300s on the track, repeat 600s at like 425 to 445 mile pace. Spend some time below goal race pace on top of doing your weekly tempo run. If you get your tempo run out to 3 to 4 miles in length at tempo effort, at anaerobic threshold effort, think of how much easier racing an all-out mile is going to be. Okay, so don't spend so much of your time thinking about just aerobic running. It's still very important. You have to lay your foundation of aerobic training first, but you also have to make sure that you're recovering from what you're throwing at yourself. Okay, the sub 5-minute mile is definitely a mental barrier. Okay, it's like a lot of times, in the past they thought that the 4-minute mile barrier was impossible, that the human body was not designed to break the 4-minute mile barrier. For a lot of athletes, breaking 5 minutes is like breaking the 4-minute mile barrier. There's athletes out there that have been training for years trying to run a 4:59. Maybe they're maybe you're at 5:20, maybe at 5:30. It's just consistent work, okay, over a long period of time. Know that what you're doing, it may take a decade in order to do. The key thing is that you eventually get to that point. And I think in terms of decoding the 5-minute mile and is it mental? Yes, it is mental for sure. Again, you can be on goal pace. You can be on 4:59 mile pace for 1,200 meters of that race. But it's like, what happens in that last 400 meters is what counts. And again, also maintain relaxation as well. If you're too tense in the race or too tense before the start of the race, you're wasting not only physical energy, but mental energy. The more relaxed you can be, the better your performance is going to be. If you notice that your shoulders are rising or your face is tensing up in the race, consciously tell yourself, I'm in control. I've put in the work. I'm ready to do this. The less stress that you're placing on your body, both mentally and physically, the better your performance is going to be. But you have to be smart. Please be smart in that first 400 meters, especially. If you go too anaerobic, you redline, you go into oxygen debt too soon, you're going to pay for it. I'm thinking about my regional final. It was my senior year in high school. I had run 4:25 for the 1,600 meters by myself in a very small meet. And I was at the regional championships. Top 4 go to the state meet in Ohio. I'm thinking about this mistake right now because I want to paint this picture for you, and I do not want you all to make the same mistake in going for the sub 5 minute mile barrier. In that race, at the regional final, I went out the first 400 meters in 60 seconds. I ended up running 4:26, placing 6th. I missed going to state my senior year. I'm thinking if I would have went out at 67 that first 400 meter versus 60, I probably would have ran like 4:17 or 4:18 that day. So I'm saying this as a mistake that I made that I don't want you to make in breaking the 5 minute mile barrier. Do not go out at 68 seconds the first 400 meters when you're aiming to break a 5 minute mile barrier, the 5 minute mile barrier. Okay? Psychologically, if you go out much slower, if you go out and say a 74 or a 73 or even a 77 the first 400 meters, psychologically you're going to be able to pick up the pace. You're not going to be so tired mentally and physiologically. Okay? In my case, I was done. I was really struggling to hold on to that pace, and I remember how painful the last 2 laps of that race was because I went out so fast in the first 400 meters. Okay, so I'm sharing this mistake I made with all of you. Be patient in the first 400 meters. Don't go out so fast. If you go out a little bit more conservative in the first 400 meters, you're going to be able to pick up the pace and you're going to be able to really react and make that major move 600 meters out when your competition's really waiting until about 300 to 400 meters out to try to make their move. If you go out and you're confident in yourself, and you go out and you really you make your attack 600 meters out, they're really going to have really done their homework and training to really react to what you did to that major pace surge 600 meters out. And you can do that if you're a little bit patient in the early going. Okay, so yes, this is a mental barrier for sure, but it's also a strategy and changing up, not making the mistakes a lot of runners make by going out way too fast in the first 400, the first 800 meters of the race, okay? So I hope this video, for all of you that are aiming to break the 5 minute mile, is helpful for you, and hearing from me and just realizing too that, yes, runners make their mistakes, but they also adjust, and later on in life, I ran much faster, a little bit faster, by running this race a little bit smarter, a little bit more conservative in the early stages, and then was able to pick up the pace in the latter stages of the race. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for all of you. I wish you all the best in your upcoming mile races or long distance races, whatever it is, whatever you're training for. If you're currently training for the mile, what is your current personal best right now? I'd love to hear it in the comment section. Also, if you've run this race in the past, where did you end up running? Where did you end up starting at? And what did you end up running after several years of training? I think sharing that with those that watch this video would be a huge help to them as well. So thank you all for your support. Thanks for watching my videos and liking them, sharing them on social media. It really means a lot to me. And check out the resources below or on RunDreamAchieve.com if you're ready to take your training and racing to the next level. And I'll talk to you guys and gals all in the next video.